Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. This is Mario Hardy, aka DJ Ragtop, with the Mr. Brad Woods, aka photographer, videographer. So this morning, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss what goes on behind the scenes with a photographer slash videographer when it comes to working with clients, when it comes like with their events and things. And I just wanted we kind of like want to set the record straight so people understand what really goes on because that we and Brad were just talking this morning about how customers they really don't understand the concept of the timeline that goes on from the beginning to the end. And we're going to kind of open up the room so people understand, I should say open up people's minds so they really understand what a photographer videographer really does during, before, during, and after the events. So Brad, what you got to say this morning?
Man, good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm just elated to be on this show this morning with the GOAT himself. That's what I call him, Mr. Mario. Um, so I'm definitely excited. Definitely. Thank you for this opportunity. Just to get on this morning and chop it up with you and your audience.
Oh, no problem. 'Cause like I said, my thing is, like I said, I'm happy that I was able to get you because I know how busy you stay. So it's like just a matter of getting you on the show and really educating the people on the process of the photographer, videographer, and then also how we work together as a team to make the event successful for the customer. So
Yes.
first thing first, Brad, go ahead if you don't mind. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, I have a big umbrella. Excuse me. It is We are Into the Woods Media LLC. And under that big umbrella, we do have two different entities. We have For Your Memories Photography. Of course, it's in the name. And also another BWoods production. That is the kind of like the video aspect of the whole operations. Into the Woods Media, we pretty much are like, that one-stop shop where it is, photography, videography, music production. We pretty much have a team that, we're a one-stop shop for whatever you need. Like I said, I can't do it alone, so shouts out to my team. Everybody, they know who they are. But again, we initially started out. My eldest daughter, she said I really didn't spend time with them on the weekend, so it's all her fault. So it's all her fault. We got into this, and I like, so what do you want to do? And she was like, well, let's just take some pictures. And I was like, all right, don't let me invest in all this stuff, and then you leave me hanging. But she's gone to college now, so she's a little bit more busier than she was. But again, like we are family owned and operated. Most of the time when you see me at weddings, you'll see my 7-year-old daughter. She'll tag along with me. She has a little camera. My 15-year-old, she's behind the scenes with the camera a lot as well. So, but in a nutshell, that's who we are. We're located in Harnett County, and we're good old Harnett County, Lillington more specifically. So, but again, like I said, that's just us in a nutshell.
And that's one of the greatest things I love about a lot of our businesses here in our local area is they're family driven, family owned, and it's a great thing to be able to work with family. So then you spend the quality time and work at the same time. So it's always a great thing. So Brad,
Yep,
let me
yep.
ask you this: what is one of the biggest misunderstandings, or I should say, what's one of the biggest things that you run into when you're doing, let's say, prepping for a wedding? What are one of some of the things that you come across that customers don't pay attention to or don't listen to up front?
Um, and this goes to our conversation off camera. That contract, that contract. I've learned the hard way the importance of a contract. I when we again first we were young, and I mean we still are young, so we still have a lot to know and to grow and to learn. But not having a contract ended up biting me in the butt. Um, and and it goes both ways. So
Right,
along with that contract, effective communication that is really important as
right.
well. When it comes to any event, we do a lot of weddings, but also birthday parties, retirement dinners. I laugh. I say birthday parties and divorce parties. We do it all. Um, But my main thing too is, again, we when I say we, that's anybody that provides a service, whether it be the photographer,
Right.
videographer, the DJ, the caterer, the event planner. We're there to provide a service, and the more that we can communicate, whether it be verbally or written, that's important.
And I think that's one of the things that I stress to my clients that they really need to take time to read the client. I mean the contract. But then one of the things that one of the biggest disconnects I've seen just from the DJ standpoint is the customer doesn't understand the timeline. How long should they hire a photographer? So what do you recommend if a person's doing a wedding? How much time should they how much time should they invest in their photographer? How much time should they pay for their photographer and slash videographer?
And this is I'll answer that on two different aspects.
Okay.
As far as the length, the day that you need us there, I recommend no less than 6 hours. Especially if you want us to get some of the before, and some of the after. We've done it where we've only been hired 4 hours for a wedding. It can be done, but it's very stressful.
Right.
So anywhere we've had weddings where we were there for 12 hours. Those days are long,
Right.
but it's not as fast paced. It's not as stressful. You have you do have some downtime. So that's what I recommend. Like I say 8 hours for a wedding is a perfect day.
Okay.
That's a perfect wedding day. As far as turnaround time, yeah. In our contract, if when we're doing both photography and videography, we say 6 to 8 weeks. I try my best to get it to them in that time, but again, sometimes things happen. Matter of fact, I was talking with the client this morning. I'm actually delivering her services to her after the 8 weeks. I had a computer crash. Sometimes things are out of our control. But what is in our control is that communication. I'm so thankful for the clients that I've had in the past, because that is one, like I said, that is one thing that I'm key on is the communication. She was very understanding about the computer crashing. So with that in return to her, I definitely am trying to go above and beyond when it comes to giving additional pictures, giving additional unedited versions of the DVD to that client as of I guess a way to say, I'm sorry on my end for what happened. Even though like I said, some things are out of our control. But typically a wedding that we do, you'll get your services back in 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay. And kind of explain to them why it takes 6 to 8 weeks. I know why, but kind of like it kind of explain to them, because one of the things I want what I tell my customers, the pictures and video clips that I give coming straight from the device. I don't do any edits whatsoever. So I always let them know up front, mine are just point and shoot. That's what it is. There's no edits whatsoever. So kind of explain to them like what goes on behind the scenes when it comes time to process the pictures and the video.
Now, I will say this: the photography aspect. Again, so we do photography and videography. I am blessed to have a dope partner. His name is Jamal Pagis. I tagged him in the comments. Most of the time, he tags along whenever we do a dual wedding. When I say dual wedding, that's photography and videography. Most of the time when we take pictures, we'll probably come home with over 2,000 shots.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to look through those. A lot of times something's not right with this picture, and so that process by sorting through the photos, that's time consuming. And also getting that perfect. When we do photography, we're still trying to tell the story. So it has a lot, with the color schemes that tells a story. So that does take some time. As far as the video aspect, that takes a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
That takes a lot of time from getting the way that I do it. I always ask my clients for a song list. So prime example, I'll say, hey, what song reminds you or can summarize the pre-wedding of and we'll do like wedding recaps. There's also a wedding highlight that we do, and that's what they blast on social media. But there's a lot of time outside of the wedding that a lot of people, that's what we say. That's where the money is made. Sitting here at these computers. The the picture taking process is not long, but the edits, that's what takes the longest. And again, of course, you want to portray and duplicate the emotions and the feelings that the clients has that day. So that takes some time. And I can tell you why it takes me some time too. Because currently this is not my full-time job. I do have a non until, so there's no set time for me to get off. So most of the time I'm getting off work and rushing home and coming home to a good hot meal. Shouts out to my bae. I come home to a good hot meal, and I kiss the kids, and we'll spend a little bit of time with them. But then I'm up here, and there are a lot of late nights, early mornings. I think I laid down this morning, maybe 4:00. I was trying to finish up some stuff for my client.
Right.
But that trying to juggle that can be time consuming. The end goal, of course, is to let this be full time. So I wholeheartedly believe in God's timing, it'll come to pass.
And that's something that a lot of people that is always the end goal. When you love what you do, and you're able to make money from it, you would love for it to be your primary main source of income. And a lot of people don't understand that when it comes to a lot of the vendors in our industry, is the actual job is a secondary job compared to their full-time job. And that's one of the things that I stress to people when you have a contract, pay close attention to what's in the contract, because everyone's contract is going to be different based off of how they operate. Their operational piece is what causes timelines to change, because a lot of people say, well, this photographer does this, that. Well, you can't. And that's one of the things I would say about our industry is every person is different. So you have to look at their contract and their operation piece, because no one is the same. They might have some things in common, but nobody's the same.
Yeah, that is definitely key. I know, like I said, I know some photographers in video. I know one photographer, like it's a 48-hour turnaround. I said, brother, that's you doing some work.
That's some serious work. That's some serious work. Because I know I mean, just downloading the pictures and upload them, that's 40 hours right there for me. So I can imagine if you're editing the pictures, and boy, ooh, you're taking a lot of coffee.
And I would say this though. I would say this. That is his full-time job. Also, he charges double what I'm charging as well. So which I understand. So that is his and again, that's why we, certain photographers prices are different as well too. If he can give you a 48-hour turnaround and he guarantees it, then and that's why those clients pay that money to get that quick return. Some clients can be like, okay, well, I can wait, a month and a half. So come see us. We'll
right.
So,
and I think that's something that that when people take time to understand the operation piece, they understand the quality. Now, we talked about a little bit before, we talked about a little bit after. So let's talk about when it's wedding day. I'm using weddings because I know weddings are the most busiest time for all of us.
That's why I'm bald headed now, man. I put all my
when we talk about weddings, and I know the pain that y'all go through when it's time to get everybody together to take those pictures. what could be done? What can like what type of things would you tell your customers to be prepared for? Because that is the process that we all like when it comes to it, like that cocktail hour, which is the time that y'all take pictures. What do customers need to know in advance when it comes to getting ready to take those really good shots, those professional shots?
Gotcha. So what we do for your memories, again, it's all in the pre-planning.
Right.
Um, I email them a list. I give them what I have a packet where I literally email them steps through what you will see us doing all day as far as the pre-wedding. All right, so during this pre-wedding time, this is what we'll be doing. This is what we'll be capturing. When it comes to the cocktail hour, I give them a generic for your memories cocktail hour list. And it'll list, all right, bride and groom with parents, bride and groom with grandparents. It literally gives them a list, and but they have the option of um selecting what form of pictures they want, if that makes sense.
It does.
And what we'll do is we'll print out that list, and I'm like, hey, this is what the bride wants. We'll go from point one all the way down to point how many ever it is, 15, 20, no, and not. And well, let me get Uncle Johnny was not on the list. He's gonna have to wait. Um, a lot of times as photographers and videographers, we have to be stern and voice, that is our time and that is their time. And to make that specific like cocktail hour flow smoothly, I recommend generating some type of list. I've had weddings where, and again, that was learned because initially I never knew that we needed to have a list for cocktail hour. I was like, all right, well, who wants to take formal pictures? Oh, that
Right.
was a catastrophe. That was, we'll take pictures. Oh man, I forgot to get cousin Jim. Come on, cousin Jim. And that hour turned into an hour and a half.
Right.
It's very chaotic during that time. So if you can construct a list, step, who, it'll be no confusion. I've had clients that were very detailed and even gave me the names, and that made it even easy. So I was literally calling the people. I like people like that. I like clients like that go
Right.
above and beyond to make sure that we can do our job successfully. Um, I'll say this as well too. I've had a wedding where um, the parents were divorced and remarried. That is also important as well too. Um, I've had an instance where one of the uncles could not be in the same picture with the dad. So stuff like that is important to tell the photographer, so there's no confusion on anybody's end.
Yeah, family history is critical. I think that's critical for all of us to know because the last thing we want to do is cause a scene not knowing reason why. Because like most of the time when I see something, when my customer gives me feedback on my paperwork and I see it, I ask a couple of questions just to make sure I understand what's going on, what's taking place. Because you'll have some situations where like the bride most of the time it's always the situation where either the bride or the groom didn't stay with the mother or the father, and they grew up under one parent, but then that one parent that wasn't present throughout their life is present for their event. So there's some distance there. So it's
Gotcha.
good to inform all vendors on a situation like that, so we don't put kind of like damper your day by saying something that might kind of like take away from your day.
Gotcha. Yes, sir.
So let me ask you this. So when it comes time, and this is one of the things that I was going to flip the script on the videographer piece. Um, when you do your videographies, let's say when you're recording the ceremony, how could like, and I know like when we work together, it's like it's kind of like it's a smooth transition, but because we worked together before. But
Yes, sir.
when you work with the DJ, do you actually tap into the DJ systems all the time, or do you do your own sound, like your own capture your own sound?
Now I've worked. Listen to what I'm about to say. I've worked with the goats, of the DJ industry, and I've worked with um, a cousin that has just started,
Right.
DJing. And his equipment will not allow me to, tap in. Whether it be, I try to be as discreet as possible. I do have my own.
I know your own sound, right?
I got a portable Zoom right here that
Right.
I always take with me, just in case. That's funny that it was sitting right there. But I would always be. I show up to a wedding over prepared, because I would rather have it and not use it than to not have it and need it. So
right.
I've even had some DJs that tell me that I can't plug into their system.
Really?
And I out of all of the weddings that we've had, I think I've had 2 DJs that told me no. And what I ended up doing was just going to one of their speakers and then plugging it to.
Well, I mean, but that's one of the things I asked that question because it's like just so DJs understand. When a videographer plugs in, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything to cause any harm to your system. It really what it is that he's just capturing the music or the sound as it's going through your system, and I think that's the only reason why I know that is because being part I'm gonna say a kind of like a wannabe videographer. I understand that concept because I do it all the time where I plug in my own video capability into my system. So that's something that I want DJs to understand is that when you have a videographer that comes up and they want to plug into your system, it's not going to hurt your system. It just allows him to capture the actual what's going on at the same time.
Exactly.
And I mean, that's where I want that's a lot of DJs that follow this show is I want to understand that concept of how we have to work together with the photographer and videographer because it's like I'm telling you, I mean, it is one of those things where when they have to capture the moment, you want to make sure that they capture everything. You don't want to be that DJ that kind of messed up everything because you jumped into an event and you didn't give the photographer or videographer a heads up. Hey, they want to move forward and do this. So that communication piece is important for the team.
I know the first time I worked, I keep calling him the GOAT with Mr. Mario. Mr. Mario is so doggone organized. And I was like, I mean, he had, all right, what was next? I looked at the lineup that he had. He was like, okay, so this song is with what's going on here. And I love to see, what I'm saying, somebody organized. And again, it helps me know what's coming up next.
Right.
Mr. Mario even had a copy for me.
Right.
That one of the weddings that we worked together, I was like, Mr. Mario, own it. But whenever I go to, we're talking about weddings. That
right.
is the first, other than the coordinator, and other than the bride and the groom, I try to make sure that I am best friends with that DJ for that evening. A lot of times too, because there's no place to hide my equipment.
Right. And see that I always have that little extra space because most of the time what I do is I'll put my equipment somewhere else because I know when a videographer, photographer show up, they're always looking for a place to put their bag and equipment because they don't want their stuff to walk away.
Yes, sir.
You can get so busy doing events that you like I said, you'll forget where you put your bag or your battery pack or what. I mean, all those different. I've seen it happen so many times to where I had one photographer where she left her battery, and it was one of those expensive one of those cheap batteries, it was one of those expensive ones. And so I just made sure I gave it to the bride and groom because I knew that most likely they will make contact with her. They might not make contact with me, but they will see the bride and groom again.
Gotcha. I remember, speaking of that, I remember at one wedding, my Zoom recorder. I remember I said I plugged it into the back of the speaker. I actually left it, and the groom called me. He's like, "Brad, is this yours?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." So I like you said, that's very important, very key, to establish. You ain't gotta leave from there, buddy, but just know that we are all there to provide a service and do what's best for the bride and the groom on that specific day. And whatever can be done, again, like I said, I appreciate all of the DJs that I've worked with in the past, all of the coordinators. It takes a team, to have a successful event.
Right. And it's important, and that's it. And that's one of the things I like to do is first thing I do is I introduce myself to the photography videographer, because like my thing is this: the person that controls the flow of the event is going to be the DJ. And
Facts.
me, with they, and this happens a lot at weddings where they change up what they want to do. And the first thing I do when the coordinator comes up to me, or the Aunt Betty Lou, or whoever it is that comes up to me, they say, "Hey, they want to do this." I say, "Okay, well, you know what? Let me play one more song so we can get ready." And I have to explain, we have to make sure the photographer, videographer knows so they can get prepped and set up. And that's just, again, working together as a team. If you have a DJ that doesn't understand that concept, that can cause. And I've seen where um, the photographer. There was one situation where I had a photographer and I have a videographer, and I would say, "Y'all give me a thumbs up when you're ready." And the photographer gave me a thumbs up that they were ready, because they're across the room. Because sometimes, they like to put the DJ in the timeout corner, so where we can't see anything. So we have to look at visuals from signals from the photographer to know that we're cue and ready. So the photographer gave me a thumbs up, um, gave me a thumbs up, um, gave me a thumbs up that they were ready. And I said, okay. So I went ahead and started, but the videographer wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And I felt so terrible because, and I said, well, and so then we had a little conversation because he told me what was what. And I said, okay, you know what? I did capture it with my video. I said, if you want my video footage, I did capture it from a distance to make up for that time. And he says, no, he'll be okay. He did capture some of it. But I said, but that's something that everybody has to understand is we're all there to do a job, and we have to understand the roles that we all play into it. And that's why I was like, I really wanted to get a videographer to come up and talk about how important it is that you're given that proper time to set up and prep, um, to capture those things. What type of issues do you run into when it comes to video? I already know this answer, but I'm going to ask anyways. What type of issues do you come into when it comes to videoing wedding ceremonies and taking pictures at wedding ceremonies? What are the major, like, I'm gonna say, what are the major issues that you have to overcome?
These things right here.
I already knew the answer, so I was like, we can throw it out there.
um, like the last several weddings that we've done, they literally have announced, what they call like unplugged weddings.
Right.
It is so difficult, and again, I know everybody wants to share in the capturing of the day, but that's what they paid us to do.
Right.
So and it's hard whenever we're trying to get that picture, we're trying to get that first kiss, and somebody jumps up in front of the camera, or uh somebody's recording. I remember one time we were doing in a reception. They was cutting the cake and everything, and there's certain angles that we have to get.
Right.
So I know we got to that certain angle, and then an uncle came with an iPad and wanted to record it, and he was directly in like back over the shoulder of the groom. So again, that's where we come with communication. I got the wedding coordinator. I was like, hey, like, he's in my shot, and she was very voiceful. She didn't care. She went and told uncle to go sit down. You know what I'm saying? So that is one issue. Like I said, we've been doing this for a while, so a lot of times my early mistakes, I try not to, I learn from them. All right, so if my batteries were dying, hey, go buy some more batteries, have backup, bring your chargers with you, have them on charge. It's a lot of things that I like to say I am I have a passion for everything, but I'm a master of none, So because I'm still learning, I'm still growing. I like to take bits and pieces, and I've learned a lot as far as the business aspect of this. Like I said, from DJs, from caterers, from musicians, not just photographers and videographers. I've taken a little bit. Like I said, my organization, I think I'm well organized. And again, I learned that from seeing Mr. Mario being well organized with the day-to-day timeline. But that is one of the concerns. Like I said, we haven't had that lately because a lot of weddings are going to unplugged weddings. But and I always, there's always I laugh. There's always one family member that loves to bring their camera along as well.
Right. Everybody want to be a photographer. Everybody want to be a videographer. I'm telling you, these high
Yeah,
tech smartphones. I mean, and that's why I was telling about technology. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's trying to take us out. It's
yes, sir.
like, so we have to learn how to adjust. And that's one of the things I wanted to highlight is when you hire a professional photographer, videographer, it's important that it's unplugged, that the ceremony is unplugged. Because I can tell you this, I broadcast. I actually stream weddings and stuff. And the first thing, like you said, is Uncle Junebug jumps out there and wants to be that professional photographer and jumps right in front of your camera. And I actually have to quickly voice, hey, I'm streaming.
Yeah,
These are like 100 other people, or there's like 50 or whatever, how many people watching from a distance. So I need for you to say, and then one of the biggest things I always ask is I'll ask the question, and then even after I ask the question, the minister or the officiant still has everybody stand up. And I always ask that question: is everybody going to stand up when the bride comes in? No, everybody's going to have a seat. But then the officiant or it's like the officiant doesn't get that message,
yeah,
and he or she symbol, like, gives that symbol where he wants everybody, that visual where he wants everybody to stand up. And then even though my camera or my iPad is in the right location, they block it. So
yeah.
like how do you deal with that situation? You kind of put yourself in a better position, right?
You have to, like, a lot of times too, especially with the photographers and videographers, a lot of stuff is on spot. Even though we have, all right, well, this is a ceremony, this is what's gonna happen. And I always ask that too. Is there anything out of the norm that is planned? Sometimes I've had weddings where the bride like has come down the aisle singing. That's not traditional.
Right,
Uh, but as far as that, hey, we need to know that so that we can be in place to
right,
capture that. Um, I recently did a wedding too. It was in like a ballroom hall. And lights were on when everybody else was coming down. But when the bride came, they cut the lights. I was like, no, because we weren't prepared.
right,
And most, it is a photographer courtesy. There's no flash during the ceremony.
right.
So I didn't have a flash, and those pictures with her coming down the aisle were not the best.
Mm,
So I definitely had to explain that to the bride. And as far as the video quality too, because most of the time, if we're gonna do multiple camera angles, we set the angles to what the light is, and we'll set it, and of course we'll walk away. Especially if it's a one-man team. I've been hired to do weddings. Sometimes it's just me behind the camera with the
right,
video. And then other times I bring another assistant, or I bring my daughter. But this particular wedding, it was just me. I was the videographer, and we were partnering up with a separate photography company. And I was looking at the film, and I was like, oh man, the wedding looked beautiful. I had to use some creative control when it came to showing the bride come down the aisle, because the lights, it changed everything. But again, that was not communicated that the lights were going to be off
right.
when the bride was coming down. So I laughed because I think the lights were supposed to stay off during the whole ceremony. But the official was like, "Can somebody turn these lights back on?" I was like, "Thank you, Lord."
And that's something that as a DJ, because also, I do the uplighting and lighting, is I always ask those questions. Because I always do the Tuesday before a wedding, I always do a virtual walkthrough with my bride and groom. And that virtual walkthrough is when they need to tell me every single thing that's going to happen.
Yeah,
And that is what kills me, is even when I go through and I do that virtual walkthrough, they still don't tell me everything. So what I try to do is for the team is I try to get the insight of what's going on, because sometimes even the coordinator won't know or like what goes on, what's taking place. And I think that's critical that even if you're going to do a surprise, the main ones that need to know are the vendors that are operating behind the scenes to make it happen. Like the photographer, videographer, the DJ, we all need to be aware of what's going on, what's taking place. And I think that's the part that blows my mind is the customers sometimes feel that there should be a surprise for everybody. And when they do a surprise for everybody, we're all looking like a deer in the headlight scenario where,
It's a
wow,
surprise, all right.
yeah, it was a surprise, all right. Didn't know that was going to happen. And so most of the time they have to tell me because, oh, they need the microphone to do this, or oh, they need this, or they need for me to turn the lights down, or so then I know. So most of the time I'll the first thing when it comes to light, the first thing, hey, y'all do know they're going to turn the lights off. Or hey, I always give the videographer and photographer a heads up. But most time we're finding out at the same time, like, oh, dang, I didn't know they were going to do that. So it's important that you really communicate with your photographer, videographer, because they're the ones that are capturing the moments. They're the ones they're going to, that's going to like those memories. If you don't tell them up front, hey, it can get crazy. So, so Brad, let me ask you this: when it comes to, when it comes down to when you get into the dance, and this is one of the things from asking for the DJ side, so I want my DJs to understand this. Why is it important that the DJs do not turn on their dance lights until after all, like the formal portion of the reception is done? Why is that important?
That is very important, especially when it comes to like the first dance. We don't want to see the DJ lights, but when it comes to the open floor dance, man, turn the things open, wide open, do whatever you need to do. That most of the time too, whenever it comes to the videography aspect of a formal, like the first dance, that is something that's very intimate. That is something that's very precious. And you really don't want a lot of distractions going on with that. That again, that's teamwork too. Again, especially when you have a photographer as well. With me, sometimes the way that I shoot my videos, I like to get close and personal, especially during that the couple's first dance. And it's just communication. So like I said, my homeboy Jamal Pagis, man, shouts out to him. We're kind of like a yo-yo effect, man. Like I'll get in, get what I got to get out, and then as I'm backing out, he's coming in, getting his pictures, doing what he got to do. And then it's like a little yo-yo effect. We know how to we've done dozens of weddings together, and it's second nature now. You know what I'm saying? When of course in the beginning it was just communication. Again too with communication too. When it comes to that first kiss, I laugh at that too. I don't mind saying it. Again, I learned from my mistakes. My very first wedding that I did, I missed the first kiss. Ooh. I missed the first kiss. And it wasn't because I wasn't ready. I just was, inexperienced at my first wedding. But that's one thing I said, hey, we make sure we get that first kiss. And I remember a wedding too. I was the videographer. And again, that's why it's important for the photographer and the videographer to be on the same page. I was trying to get a look, but I got in the way of the photographer, So and then there's vice versa. We try not to be in each other's shots. Again, like I said, my partner and I, we work so hand in hand. I know where he's gonna be. We've also updated some equipment, so we got walkie talkies. And anytime I'm like, hey, let me know if I'm in your shot, and then I'll be somewhere. Most of the time he'll be in the back of the room, and I have to get a little bit closer for the closer intimate parts. He'd be like, Brad, take a step back, and I'd be like, yeah, I got you. So it's all about communicating, man.
And that's one of the things I would say that when I learned my photography, my actual education on photography, videography started back when I was in the military in the public affairs. I was the PAO, and one of the things that they taught us was the 360 rule. The 360 rule is if you're doing an event, the photographer and the videographer are at they say it's kind of like a 45-degree angle from each other. And when you say 45-degree, that means we'll never be in the shot or the coverage that we're trying to capture. And as you rotate around your target, you're both moving together as a unit to where you'll never be in the same shot. And I think that's one of the things I'm glad that's something I learned from the military side of that because what I try to do with my my little DJ camera, or I should say my dance cam, is I try to keep it to where I tell my photographers and videographers, hey, you could be in there all day long. This is not the professional thing. Your stuff is professional. You always take priority. Because when I had one photographer that just panicked because they saw all these 3 video cameras connected to my system, and they're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to be able to take pictures? You do your thing. Those cameras are there more so just for just to capture what's going on, what's taking place. They're not there to stop you from doing what you need to do. And I think that is the okay, my thing just glitched on me. Okay. And I think that's one of the things that people need to understand is that that the objective is to make sure you got clean shots. But then you always got the Uncle Junebug that come up there that wants to get that moment, catch that shot. And that's where Photoshop comes into play.
At the end of the day, we were paid to do a service.
Right, exactly.
So at the end of the day, I know that my photographer, there's certain shots that my photographer has to have. I know as a videographer, there are certain things I have to have, So like I said, you just have to communicate and work together. No disrespect to nobody else, no disrespect to the family and friends, but we're there to provide a service.
Right.
And that is something, again, that's a passion that I have. Like I said, I want it to be top near quality. I want it to be top notch. I want the clients to feel like, hey, well, I knew I should have went with somebody else. No, I want them to feel like, hey, this for your memories, another BWoods production. There's nobody else we would have rather have to have cover our event. I'm the type of person, man, like when I meet the clients, I always try to, I can't be anybody else but myself,
Right.
I like to have a good time, but like I said, I'll cut up with the bride and the groom. There's always one bridesmaid or one groom, and that I have to make sure I find, all right, which one is the party one? Okay.
Right.
So I established that relationship. When I established that relationship, that's the person that I always go to whenever I need something as well too. So that's how I work. There's always most of the time it's not the bride's the maid of honor, because of course she's dealing with the bride. It's probably, I always try to find one. Hey, I need you to get the ladies, and she'll go grab it. Hey, grab the homies right quick. Let's do this. And that's how I operate, like I said. And again, the key thing there is communication.
Right. And I think that's the biggest piece, is that you get that, I call it that one, that drill sergeant, he or she is the one that's going to keep everybody like apart. Because like I said, every now and then don't get wrong, if you got a wedding coordinator that's able to do that, that works out perfect. Because I've seen some hardcore wedding planners that will put people in check in a heartbeat. And that's what makes the difference, because we all know the game. We all know part of what has to happen is we need to get through this to make sure everything works out like it's supposed to. So let me ask you this: if someone was going to get started in this business of photography, videography, from lessons learned from when you first started, what would you tell them?
Lessons that I would say, this is, I know you'll see it advertised, you'll see it this, go out and buy this, and you think you have to have a $5,000 camera, and the camera is what's going to make you take the high quality pictures. Not at all. Definitely, it is definitely important to invest in your equipment and to invest in your everything that you have, but you definitely need to do the research, do your homework. Definitely do your homework, whether it be signing up for classes, online classes. YouTube is a great resource, but it is also
it's the dark pit that never
ends. It's Because you get on YouTube and you look up, well, how do I operate this camera? And then the next other 5 videos is like, why do you need to buy this camera? You know,
Right. I
you
mean,
gotta you gotta do your research, man. Do
you
some
really
research.
do.
Yeah.
You really do. So
What
like
one
this,
other one other thing that I would say too, um, reach out and have a mentor. I know early on I have one photographer. He's an older photographer, and I put him out there, Mr. Jerry Elliott. Call him Uncle Jerry. He's not really my uncle, but he is the uncle of one of my good friends. Um, I would have photo shoots, and I'm like, hey, critique this. You know, a lot of times you'll find. Listen, when you get started, hey man, you need anything, man? Let me know, man. I'm here to. I've heard a lot of that. I've heard a lot of that. But
yeah,
Mr. Uncle Jerry was the one that was been there from the beginning. Um, he was like, hey, I would have cropped it this way, or turn down the saturation down this way. And again, too, once you find people a mentor like that, somebody that is willing to invest their time, they don't really necessarily have to invest money into you, but that to me, time is very valuable as well. And you just find somebody that can invest into you with some time and that has that knowledge that is, and I keep going back to Jamal Pegues, man. He is phenomenal behind the camera. A lot of times, man, I'll just like, hey man, let's pull up to the studio. Let's critique this. Let's do that. I'll send edits to them. Like, hey man, give me your honest thoughts. You need somebody that's gonna be honest.
right, right.
You need somebody, and that's what I've always tell them. I said, bro, if this thing is trash, tell me. Please tell me if it's trash. So that is, to me, that is the lessons that I've learned. Do your homework, do your research. Um, when you can, I would say invest in the camera, and once you've expanded everything that you can do with that camera, then it's time to start upgrading and updating. And like I said, find friends that's going to be honest with you, and if it's tell you if it's trash, it's trash.
Yeah. And the other question I'm gonna ask is like the software. Um, please explain to people the software portion of what goes on behind the scenes, because a lot of people, and the reason why I say that is a lot of people think that an iPhone, iPad, a Samsung can replace a professional photographer, and I have to break it down and explain it to them. So in your view, what is it that makes you different when you do your job versus someone behind an iPhone, iPad, or Samsung?
Now, I would tell you this, kudos to, I got, I'm a Apple. I wasn't always an Apple guy,
Right.
but these Apple products now, they're listen to what I'm gonna tell you. They can get the job done. Now it can, but if you put the comparison side by side, you definitely can tell a difference, especially
Right.
in the quality of the photography. Definitely. A lot of times these pictures, with the different modes and stuff they have on the phones,
Right.
um, if you put a raw image from your camera into like what we have, I use Lightroom. Trust me, it's nowhere compared.
Right.
It's so much more you can do with a raw photo, and upload it to Lightroom than what you can do with your phone. The phone, they're starting to gimmick some of the things that
Mhm.
we can do on the computer. But as far as video effects as well, they're trying to start imitating,
Right.
but no,
Right.
there's nothing in comparison um, to sitting down and actually doing it at the computer.
And that's one of the things.
They have products where you can do the same thing on a pad. I can edit things from my pad, um, but it's just something about sitting in this little corner upstairs I got here, man, and going to work, man.
And that's one of the things you said, a key word. And this is what I learned again. What I learned in the public affairs when I did that. That was my last assignment that I did before I retired from the military. Was raw footage. A lot of people don't understand what raw footage is, and so kind of explain to them what it means, because I have to explain to people an iPhone or most of these devices can't provide you with raw footage. So kind of give us a brief definition of what raw is.
So this, I always think about it as this. Think about baking a cake. Think about baking a cake. What our iPhones and the iPhones, what and the pads, what they pretty much are. They're kind of like a store bought cake.
Right.
So with the store bought cake, you really can't change any ingredients. Basically, all you can do is put the icing on the cake.
Right.
Color it up a little bit. But with raw images is just like raw ingredients. With the eggs and the flour.
Right.
You can put your own, listen to what I'm saying here. You can put your own ingredients. I could put my own flavor, my own style to a raw image that I can't do with the store-bought image. You have a lot more flexibility of what you can do with the image whenever it is raw. That's how I like to look at it. And that's the same thing difference. A lot of times with our cameras, even our cameras, they have JPEG settings.
Right.
Right. I learned that the hard way too. Stay away from the JPEG.
Right.
Always shoot in RAW. Like I said, that JPEG setting is like a store bought cake. The only thing I can do to a JPEG is put some icing on it.
That's all you can, right?
That's all you can do. You can't change it.
And that's one of the things I learned because when I first started in PEO, I like JPEG because I'm not an editing person. I rather just like I throw some ice on it and let's eat. I mean, that's how I am when it comes to that. But when I start to when they explain to Raw gives you the capability to go in and do so much to edit a picture, even though it takes up a lot more memory. Takes up a hell lot more memory. But it's just one of those things. As a professional, most professional photographers know that RAW is more important than a JPEG. And that's something that, and that takes up, and that again, because it's raw, that means it takes a little bit longer to download, takes a lot more time to edit. So that again, that goes why you need that 6 to 8 weeks to edit like 2,000 pictures,
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's what I tell people all the time. Photographers, it's normal for them to take up that many pictures, but then they have to go through each and every picture and see which one's the best fit that's allowed to, like I say, add those special ingredients in to make it a perfect picture.
Yes, sir.
So Brad, what other things do you want your customers to know, your future customers to know about what you do and how you operate?
At the end of the day, I know that we are here to provide a service. I am the type. I can only speak for me. Like they say, me and my business. I am a communicator. My main objective, whatever it is, the vision that you have for your project, whether it be commercials, whether it be I have a partner. We do like our own version of a tiny desk. Whatever vision it is, I would do my best to duplicate that to that vision. Sometimes I've been hired and I've had full creative control, which I love. But at the end of the day, I know they always say the client is what's the word I'm looking for? The client at the end of the day, the client is contractually always right. Let's say that.
I don't know about that.
It's in the contract, Doc. It's in the contract.
Right. Okay. I'm about to say, because we got to educate them first before they can be right. I don't know.
Let's rewind that, there, Mario.
Yeah, that's like, look, that's like giving the keys to the car to a kindergartner. Sometimes, I don't know about that.
But for my future clients, man, I just want them to know, it's a process. We learn together, we grow together. You know that I will always put my best foot forward. And I'm not that's just type of me. I was always raised in whatever we do it in like that spirit of excellency. And in a nutshell, that's what you'll get for your memories. That's what you're gonna get out of another BWoods production. That's what you're gonna get out of Into the Woods Media.
Okay. And I think one of the other things I was going to ask, I know we covered a lot about the weddings, but like photo shoots, do your company offer photo shoots or special video? Like if they're looking like say, I know some of these some of these individuals came to me asking if I could do commercials to highlight the venues and stuff like. Does your company offer things like that?
Definitely from the photography aspect. Again, we do have a studio, so we do, like I said, the family portraits. We do high school senior portraits. We do maternity shoots. We do it all. We've started to I know that a lot of people say pick one niche and go hard in that. Our main one is weddings, but we pretty much do everything. We're starting to tap into real estate photography. So I have a mentor, and now I'm gonna test the waters in that, see if I like it. If not, I'll let somebody else handle that. But again, like I said, that I have a passion for it, and I'm trying to get to the level where this can be a full time occupation. But like I said, from whether it's a church event, whether it is birthday parties, again, that's why I say birthday parties, but mitzvahs, engagement ceremonies, even divorce parties, we do it all.
Yeah, because I've done actually have it's kind of funny when you said it earlier. I laughed because I remember the first one time I did it, I didn't know what to expect. But
Me either.
it's boy, I tell you, it's almost like a wedding, the reversal of a wedding in a sense.
Yeah,
But
man.
it is interesting. But that's one of the things is that, again, ladies and gentlemen, this whole thing today is just to give you some behind the scenes about a photographer, videographer, and Brad Woods. I know we have done a lot of events together to where I thought he was the perfect one to reach out to talk about this because he does a lot. He does a lot of great work. Check him out on Facebook, on his social media, because he does have a lot of snippets of some of his work that he's done. I mean, I've actually had to borrow a couple of his snippets because they were that good. So it's important that you understand what you get into when you hire a photographer, videographer, and Brad Woods, like I said, he's one of the greatest. He's and like I said, we're all learning, and that's one thing is that he's a great team player. So for all my vendors out there, if you get Brad Woods on your team, hey, you got a winner. He's gonna make sure things go correctly. So Brad, I mean, is there anything else you want to say before we cut this thing out?
Um, Again, thank you for your time this morning, man. I really appreciate. Thank you for even considering me to be a part of your show, man. That's just I'm just thankful, man. This is a great opportunity. Thank you for your platform. I just again I wish you success. I know you're going to continue to do what you do as the GOAT.
I gotta stay out of trouble, yeah.
It comes with the territory,
Right,
So,
right.
but I have the utmost respect for you, man. Anytime anybody's asking, or for vendors, like, hey, man, you know a DJ? I said, do I know a DJ? Yeah. And hands down, you're always my number one recommendation when it comes to that. We'll talk offline too, man. We're gonna be playing at my daughter's 16th birthday party
Oh,
next
okay.
year. And
Okay.
I'm laughing. She was like, I was like, so who do you want to do it? She already wants my homie Jamal to be the photographer. And I
Okay.
was like, so who do you want for the DJ? She was like, Daddy, is that a question? I was so she know how I talk about you. So we'll talk about that a little bit later,
Okay.
man. So,
Okay.
but yeah, man, I'm looking forward to a successful 2023 for
Right.
everybody. It's plenty. I'll say this. It's not a competition.
Right.
It's plenty of space and everybody to pull up a chair to the table. I wholeheartedly believe that if it's meant for you and your business, um, God will God will provide the resources because He is the source, and that's
Right.
that's my whole heart. That's what I believe.
And I agree 100% with you with that because, like I said, we're all here. The only person that you should be competing with is yourself,
Facts.
because that's how you improve yourself is competing with yourself. Um, so Brad, real quick, shoot out information like how can if a person trying to make contact with you, how can they make contact? And then don't get me wrong, I'm gonna post this flyer with this show in the comments. But if someone's trying to reach you, how can they reach you?
Definitely. We're on all social media outlets. You can look up Brad Woods. But take a look at For Your Memories Photography. You'll see a little pink little logo. Well, it's white today, but it's like a hot pink. Again, that's my daughter's first color scheme.
Right.
She wanted it pink. So hey, we gonna rock with it. Before your members photography, also take a look at another BWoods production. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We have another BWoods production has a YouTube page. That's where you'll find some of our wedding highlights.
Right.
We did a trailer for a book release that is up there as well. I do a little plug as well too. I also have a podcast. It's a little short little podcast, but it's a quick 10 at 10. So every Sunday morning at 10 a.m.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good one too. I like it. I every now and then, look, if I wake up on time, most of the time I'm recovering from an event, but most of the time if I get up on time, I actually watch, like, cue in and watch it.
Gotcha, man. Just quick 10 at 10, man. Just quick little 10 minutes on your Sunday morning. Just I always start off with a weekend recap and just, what God has put on my heart to share, man. It is more of type of like a form of therapy for me. I am a whole, advocate for therapy. I know a lot of time as African American men, we really don't talk. We feel like therapy is not the answer. But I'm getting off topic, man. I'm sorry, but therapy has.
You're good.
Therapy has saved my life. Therapy has saved my marriage. Therapy has saved my kids' lives. Therapy has done wonders. So I'm a whole advocate for therapy. And just like I said, just loving on family. The last thing I'll leave it to my barber. It's 3 things that he left with me, and that is my motto for my life. When it comes to my family, I provide, I protect, and I make memories. Hence the name For Your Memories. So that is where all of that came from. So provide, protect, and make memories. That's my life's motto.
I love that. That is awesome. I love that. That's wow. That's powerful right there. And I agree with you that therapy. I agree 100% because a lot of doing this is in a sense, is my therapy because I have anger issues. So I try to keep the Hulk under control so the Hulk don't
really.
So that's one of those things. When you see me going crazy on Facebook, I'm in therapy. But this has been awesome, Brad. I'm glad you was able to join us this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, again, BWoods, let's give it up. Awesome. Like I say, information was like, I knew he was giving all the great information to get customers understanding what it is about hiring a photographer, videographer. And the biggest thing is we try to highlight what to be prepared for. Okay, look, if he tells you to sit your butt down so he can get his picture, then you need to listen. I mean, put that phone down. Uncle Jumba, go sit down. Uncle Jumba, go sit down.
Hey, don't be surprised if. And I this is what I do. I don't say much to the audience, but if I see Uncle Junebug standing up with a camera, you know what I'll do? I'll just walk right into that shot. And just
no, don't do that. No, don't look. Okay, shh. Don't tell that part. Don't tell that part. But believe it or not, that does happen a lot. I've seen it happen where photographers, videographers will do stuff on purpose, and I'm like, look, you're not supposed to talk about that. You're not supposed to share that information. Hey,
cut that out of the live stream. Then. Hey, well, that's just me, Mr. Mario. I'll go and I try to make sure everybody has a great time, man. That is what I think. That is what I'm known for. I really feel like the day of the event, they'll leave knowing, hey, man, that photographer, man. I ain't seen his pictures yet, but man, I had a good time with him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's funny.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that concludes our show for today. I'm going to join Brad. We're going to go back here backstage. And we're going to chit chat a little bit afterwards. Again, I hope everyone enjoyed the show. I'm looking forward to hey, this ain't gonna be the first one, or the last one, I should say, because I'm gonna reach out and we're gonna. And what we're going to probably do is we're going to put what I'm trying to do is get a whole panel together where the whole team, the photographer, the wedding coordinator, the decorator, get all of them on at one time, and we all can discuss how we all work together as a team. All right, so y'all look, keep in contact, stay in touch. If you're looking for a good photographer, videographer, hey, there's information. He's put it out there, so check it out in the comments. And then I also post his high-speed flyer that I forgot that I had, but he sent it to me again just to be safe. So again, thank y'all for joining us, and we'll see y'all next time. Have a great weekend.